Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to check the Geelang WASP 85X 2-inch toothpick style micro quadcopter. In this video, I'm going to quickly go over its features and specs, show you how to set it up, test it using the out-of-the-box configuration, and then test it again after changing the PH 2.0 battery connector to XT30 and configure it to use Betaflight's RPM filter. In terms of packaging, just like all the other drones by Geelang that I have reviewed, the WASP 85X comes inside this nice protective case. Inside the case, along with the quadcopter, you can find the user manual. The user manual for the included receiver, depending on the version that you've got, 2 sets of HQ prop 2-inch propellers, a couple of spare screws, a Phillips screwdriver and a hex key driver, a PH 2.0 plug that will enable you to use a single 1S battery, 4 Geelang branded 300 mAh 1S LHV batteries. 2 of them are going to be pre-wrapped using a heat shrink, which of course you can remove. In addition, you're getting a charging cable that will enable you to charge 2 1S batteries simultaneously, a spare transparent canopy, and finally a 3D printed TPU part that will enable you to use a single 2S battery instead of 2 1S batteries. In terms of specs, the WASP 85X features 1202 8700 kV motors which support up to 3S batteries. The flight controller / ESC, however, supports up to 2S batteries, and now instead of using 2 separate boards like the Anger 75X, the WASP 85X features an all-in-one F4 Whoop-style flight controller that came pre-flashed with Betaflight 4.1.2 and features an integrated 4-in-1 BLLES 5A ESC. In addition, a 10V 220 microfarad capacitor is pre-soldered to the battery pads. A linear antenna, which is mounted using a zip tie and covered with this sticker in order to justify its name, is connected to its UFL connector. On the front you can find the new GL950 Pro 4x3 NTSC 800 TV line CMOS camera. On its back, since I have the FrSky AC900 version, you can find the AC900 receiver, which supports both FrSky D16 and Futaba protocols. But you can also get the WASP 85X with other types of receivers, or get a plug-and-play version and add your own one. 2 1S or single 2S batteries are going to be mounted on the bottom side of the quadcopter using 3D printed TPU parts, and the WASP 85X is using 2 PH 2.0 plugs which are using folded pins in order to connect 2 1S batteries in series. As for the frame, the thickness of the bottom carbon fiber unibody plate is 2.5mm. Its wheelbase is 85mm and it features a true X pattern. The arms extend over the motors in order to provide them with some protection. And for some reason, Geelang chose to use Phillips screws over hex screws in order to mount the motors to the frame. As for its weight, without a battery, the WASP 85X weighs 43.5 grams, and including 2 1S 300 mAh LHV batteries, the total weight is 60.1 grams. Here you can see the default out-of-the-box configuration of the WASP 85X. The motor direction is reversed, so you should pay attention to it when installing the propellers. The ESC/motor protocol is set to D12 600. Motor stop is enabled, so the motors are not going to spin when the quadcopter is armed, which is a feature that I don't really like. In addition, for some reason, the ESC sensor and the soft serial options are enabled, and I recommend to disable them because they are not supported by this flight controller. The receiver is going to be configured depending on the version that you have. The RX Lost and RX Set options under D-Shot beacon configuration are not enabled, and since this quadcopter is not equipped with a buzzer, I recommend to enable them. Here you can see the default flight modes and OSD configuration, which of course you can change according to your personal preference. Here you can see the PID tune, which is not the default PID tune of Betaflight, so Geelang actually pre-tuned the quadcopter for you, which is great. And finally, here you can see the VTX table configuration, which makes it very easy to set it up using Betaflight, and I recommend to set the low power disarm either to on or on until first on, especially because the VTX is going to be powered up even when the flight controller is connected to USB, so you don't want it to overheat on the bench. The next thing that I've done is to test the WASP 85X using its default out-of-the-box configuration, and then again after changing the battery connector to XT30 and flashing the 4-in-1 ESC with Jazz Maverick firmware and configuring Betaflight's RPM filter. After testing it out, I can tell you that first of all I'm glad that Geelang are finally shipping the WASP 85X pre-tuned, unlike the Anger 75X, because their custom tune works great. As for the battery connector, I recommend to change it to XT30 because it's going to enable you to use bigger batteries and reduce the battery sag, And anyway, I don't recommend flying the WASP 85X using a 1S battery because the flight time is going to be very short and it's going to feel much underpowered. So using the default PH2.0 connector and two 1S 300 mAh LHV batteries, which are going to be connected in series, will provide you with about 2 minutes and 20 seconds of flight time. Using a TBS 300 mAh 2S LHV battery with an XT30 battery connector will extend the flight time with between 10 to 20 seconds. And using a GNB 520 mAh 2S LHV battery will extend the flight time to close to 4 minutes. As for the FPV camera, I think that it has some good potential since it is very light, its board is well protected inside the TPU case, and the image quality was good. However, in my opinion, the image was a little bit too dark, and since you cannot change its settings, I recommend that Geelang should increase the default brightness. So overall, in my opinion, the Geelang WASP 85X is pretty much comparable with the Emax Tiny Hawk 2 Race, which I really like, since both quadcopters are very similar in terms of pricing, specs, and flying characteristics. So if you compare these two 2-inch toothpick style micro quadcopters, I think that the advantages that the WASP 85X has over the Tiny Hawk are that it's a little bit faster on 2S, it comes with different radio receiver options which will provide you with a better range than the built-in FrSky SPIRX receiver of the Tiny Hawk, and it seems to be like it is better tuned. The Tiny Hawk 2 Race, on the other hand, seems to be more durable, comes with a better FPV camera, and will provide you with longer flight times. I'm going to wrap up this video with some flight footage of the WASP 85X using the different configurations, which hopefully is going to help you to make up your mind whether you would like to get it or not. As always, I thank you for watching my video, I hope you enjoyed it and you find it useful. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments section down below. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up if you like this video, and consider subscribing to my channel and hitting the notifications bell if you're not already subscribed. See you on my next videos, and goodbye.